thank you very much to both associations for sponsoring this. And again, I think as some of the other speakers have alluded to, it's pleasant to see more people in the audience than candidates at the table. I know quite a few of you, but for those of you who don't know who I am, as alluded to, I am on the board. I've had the privilege of being a commissioner for the past 3 years, and the privilege of serving as the chair of the board. When I'm not doing park board business, I live in the West End. In fact, I've lived in that neighborhood for the past 12 years with my wife and our little daughter. I'm a realtor, residential real estate, very active in my own community. Along with Greg Granby here, we are part of the Save St. Paul's Hospital Coalition and founding members of the Renters at Risk campaign. So, sort of when I'm not working with the family and not on the park board, still active in my own neighborhood. The past 3 years has admittedly been a challenge with the worldwide recession, which is one of the worst recessions we've been through in the last 100 years. It has been a challenge. Vision Vancouver made a firm commitment, though, to try and keep property tax increases to a minimum at the rate of inflation. And with that decision, which we heard was the predominant view of most Vancouverites, that meant we had to tighten our belts. And it has been alluded to, yes, we did cut over $5 million out of our park board budget, out of a $300 million budget. But folks, I put to you, if it wasn't for the advocacy and the independence of the Vision Park Board, those cuts would have been greater. If you looked at other departments across the city as a percentage of their operating budget, their cuts were more severe. As a case in point, this current year that we're in, our original target was $1.5 million that we were facing in cuts. And because of the advocacy of my colleagues and myself, we got that down to $700,000. So if that's not advocacy, I don't know what is. And we made a commitment as a party, the mayor and council, to keep your property taxes as low as possible. So decisions had to be made, and I think we've shown that we struck the right balance. We made sure that affordable programming and all of our recreational facilities were open. At the same time, we didn't lose sight of the fact that we needed to continue to look for opportunities to invest in your communities. Working closely with Mayor Robertson, we secured $16 million in federal infrastructure money. When leveraged with other funds, it allowed us to do $40 million worth of infrastructure projects that weren't already on the books. We were able to do 3 East Side parks, Grandview, Norquay, Fraserview, 2 artificial turf fields. We've helped finish off the Van Dusen Visitor Center, sections of the seawall, just as a few examples of investing in your communities in these hard economic times. Some of the other things I'm very proud of, we brought in the no smoking bylaw in all parks, beaches, and playgrounds in Vancouver. We planted 3 fruit orchards in Vancouver, expanded the number of community gardens, and working with the Rick Hansen Foundation opened the first fully accessible playground at Kitsilano Beach. Our biggest challenge going forward will be infrastructure, no doubt. Unfortunately, this board has inherited aging infrastructure, whether it's community centers, pools, and rinks. And I'm not sure if many of you folks followed the capital planning process, but what became clear from the city manager is our city's debt level is dangerously high. To borrow more money, to allow our credit rating to slip, I don't think anyone wants to see that. So we had to make some tough decisions. I think the capital plan that we've presented to you for your consideration next Saturday is a balanced approach. But it is true, our aging infrastructure, how are we going to renew our community centers? How are we going to renew our pools and our rinks? Vision Vancouver's vision, no pun intended, is to have integrated facilities. So instead of having a standalone pool or a standalone rink and a standalone this, let's integrate it together. So with Marple, as an example, our next community center, we are looking for a site that is big enough to have the community center, a library, childcare, and possibly housing. So yes, it takes a little bit longer. It's not a half a community center, it's the first phase. But we're very committed to our infrastructure renewal and doing it in a way which is responsible to you, the taxpayer. My colleague alluded to some of the things that we were committed to, and I would welcome an opportunity to go into more detail through the debate or afterwards. But with respect to the questions that were posed to us by the associations, what would you do to foster a relationship? One thing that I think all the commissioners realized when we got here is this has been a broken relationship for many years. I heard this from boards when we first got elected. One of the things that I'm proud of is we hired a new general manager, his name is Malcolm Bromley. Someone who is willing to sit at the table, go to the meetings, doesn't lock himself in his office. I myself, along with Malcolm Bromley, are on a working group with the associations, trying to sort out the JOAs, trying to sort out language, issues like the leisure access cards, trying to find some common ground. It's a tough negotiation, but we're committed to doing it. And I think showing that respect and showing that commitment is part of what we're doing to try and show our partners that we are committed to this long-term, fruitful relationship. What would I do to make sure that there are appropriate funding throughout our community centers? Just one example. There is $1.5 million of retained earnings from all the community center programs. What we would like to see is a way of redistributing that money so that the haves can share with the have-nots, to make sure that all the centers have a base level, that no matter where you live, you have a good program.
Aaron, thank you very much for completing that sentence just before the
hook came out? Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much.